More now on the breaking news out of the Middle East. President Trump announcing on social media U.S. forces rescued the airman who was on that F-15 shot down over Iran. The Iranians desperately wanted to find the missing American airman first. They were offering a reward. And of course, that person could have been extremely useful as a bargaining chip. An Iranian TV news anchor reporting that officials offered a valuable reward and prize to anyone who captured the airman and handed him over. Iranian media outlets are now denying, by the way, that this rescue even happened. Joining me now is Behnam Ben Taleblu, who's the senior director of the Iran program at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Behnam, it's great to have you with us at this hour. The fact that Iranian state media is now denying this U.S. rescue operation, the Tasnim news agency claiming several enemy aircraft, American aircraft, were destroyed by the Warriors of Islam, and the pilot rescue operation failed. Even in a country that is, of course, dealing with an intense internet blackout, the reality is information could still be getting through. What's the strategy here?
Great to be with you, Erica. Indeed, information is getting through. This was something that actually had attracted quite a lot of Iranian attention on social media, even again with that blackout that you mentioned. But there's two things that are worth recalling here. One is that for the Islamic Republic and a government like the Islamic Republic, the media war or the narrative war is just as important or often more important than the war based on the facts on the ground. You know, most authoritarian governments are based on some kind of constellation of lies, narrative, and disinformation. And this is yet another, element of that kaleidoscope between state in Iran and society in Iran. And the second thing is that the regime, by invoking, religious allegory there, is keen to draw a parallel with the failed American rescue attempt back in 1980, if I'm not mistaken, to rescue U.S. hostages late in the Carter administration. That was Operation Eagle Claw. Many U.S. special operators have really trained off of that mission since then. You've seen a significant change in capacity and capability for U.S. special operations, taking into account everything from environment, terrain, the threat of the adversary. A lot of things have changed since 1980, but the Islamic Republic is once again trying to say that just as that mission failed in 1980, this one failed as well.
There was, as we noted, this call, of course, or frankly, the fact that we were hearing from Iranian state media there was a reward, perhaps not surprising, for any information, for the capture. This airman could have been quite the bargaining chip, and that leading to, understandably, a lot of concern on the American side. How do you think this successful rescue, though, changes, if at all, where this war stands?
Well, not just where this war stands, but where this war could go, and indeed some might say should go. Some might say, it requires a fundamentally different approach to aerial operations, particularly in the southern part of the Islamic Republic, given the fact that could this have been a trap to draw U.S. forces who had been flying recently, probably in a similar pattern, as you know, much lower recently with heavier bombers as well, into a false sense of confidence over parts of Iranian territory. We've heard debates, if not even braggadocio from the administration, about air supremacy versus air superiority. Even if one or two surface-to-air missile systems are hidden in underground tunnels, if they are able to come out again and surprise low-flying, U.S. Jets, again, that could be a problem. And the second is, what if this is not surface-to-air missiles, but man-pads, those shoulder-launched systems that do, lock on to the heat signature of lower jets at that altitude. So one is that, potentially operationally things may change. But two, I think it just goes to show you that despite the Islamic Republic wanting to find this service person and take them hostage and, have a big propaganda coup, the regime couldn't even find this person on their own territory. And that just goes to show you the conventional as well as the intelligence overmatch of the Americans versus the Islamic Republic. So, keep your eye out for how that overmatch manifests itself in the weeks to come.
We have, of course, this deadline looming from President Trump to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, which has been followed by a threat in return from Iran. Take a listen to what a spokesman for Iran's military said.
Do not forget, if escalation continues, the entire region will turn into hell for you.
How concerned are you about potential escalation in the coming days?
Well, we've seen quite a bit of escalation, not just in this conflict, but really in the various cycles of violence that have defined the post-October 7 Middle East. Some have said, particularly from the Arab states of the Persian Gulf that this is now a regional war. But we've been living in some variant of a regional-wide war since October 7, 2023. Multiple fronts against Israel, multiple fronts against international commerce, multiple fronts against U.S. forces, and now multiple fronts against critical infrastructure, both on the pro-American side and on the anti-American side. So I am worried about the regime preemptively potentially going against critical infrastructure in some of those GCC states. But also, if the regime chooses to use what's left of its limited firepower to draw more blood rather than to cause more economic pain or energy damage.
Yeah. Behnam Ben Taleblu, really appreciate your insight this morning. Thank you.